You can't do the show without brushing your teeth. I feel the same way, but I also get a beer. But here we go. Just want everybody to know, if Pete turns into a white orb and it says Pete, he went and brushed his teeth. Because hygiene is important.
Drinks, probably.
Yeah. Welcome, RC Babble number 30-something. Who gives a flying shit? We're here to talk about some stuff today. I'm rolling up my sleeves because we're going to get dirty. It's going to be a very controversial show.
There might be a fight.
Yeah. We're probably all going to agree with everything, which is, that's why we needed Jeff, because he just blanketly disagrees with everything I say. But he's out. He's got better things to do, like try to dye his beard.
Did you tell him that I was going to be here?
He just randomly emails when he's taking a shit in the morning if he's going to do it or not. Realistically, it's like winning the lottery when he says he's going to be able to do something other than be at home.
It's on Canada.
So it's a tough life for Jeff with his hair and everything. Remember when he used to have long hair? We're here. The topic is displayed on somewhere on Facebook, on YouTube. It is going to be racing for money. Show me the money. Anybody want to do it?
I've always thought it was a very bad idea. We're not professionals. We race toy cars. Everywhere that I've ever been and I talk to folks like, do you guys do it for money? Or like, why don't they just crash into each other? Who's going to get hurt? And I've always thought it was going to be real bad, but my mind's been changed a little bit.
Pete, what's your initial thought of money racing?
I don't think the every Sunday club experience should be about money. Beyond like maybe like you get your entry fee back or something. But I think there's a place for big money races for the professional drivers or people who consider themselves to be professionals because they spend many thousands of dollars a year on the sport and they travel around the country to go to big races and stuff. And if they can do one for money, I'm fine with it. But I wouldn't want that to be a feature of regular racing. So
let's look at other forms of sport. Which ones race for a big check?
The professional sports that have big check sponsorships behind them.
So at the end of Supercross, do they show a big check?
Check though?
Right.
No, that's only in half.
Does the athlete or the driver or rider? I actually don't call it drivers athletes. Do they get to keep the money, or does that get distributed because they've got people who help them do the job? It's not just them. Like if I were a Supercross rider and I won the championship and I got the big check, I'd probably want to give some of that to my mechanic and
the story that I heard was that
people. Yeah.
They have different contracts for their bonus structures, and they consider event prizes as bonuses. And most of the top ones do share that directly with their mechanic or their spotter or their sports coach, whatever the case may be.
Yeah, they got to pay for some some of their stuff. But my question is, at the end of Supercross, Formula One, NASCAR, tractor pulls, Monster Jam, is anybody winning a check?
I don't think so.
No. So when we look at it to say that like professionals race for money, in the end, they really don't.
They get paid to race, so they're racing.
And to be fair, so do people in RC.
It's true. They're professionals. Racing, I guess you're competing for prize purses is pretty unique. It comes down to smaller sports like Saturday Night Special Dirt Oval racing, bowling tournaments. Amateur sports almost are the only places where you see prize purses, I guess, now that I think about it for a minute.
Right. Yeah. So, and of course, we're pushing ourselves to amateur.
Oh, they're toy cars.
Yeah.
Pete, you frozen?
And
you look pretty
stiff. That money is not. And the purpose of that money is not just to reward the winner; it's to get more entries to the race and to get more attention for the race. And hopefully, if you pay out $10,000, it brought $20,000 of business in. It's not just a fun way to make everyone angry because they didn't win or protest everything and do all that stuff that money tends to corrode when you bring it into racing.
the format that I'm accustomed to is like in go-kart racing and dirt oval racing. Entry fee for each team is a couple $100, and half of that goes into the prize pool, and that gets split up between the top 3 finishers for the A final, if you will, right? And then the track keeps the rest of the money to keep, because that's what businesses do.
Yeah.
So let's talk about.
Like I said, when basically.
Go ahead.
No, when your winnings like covers your entry fee and your gas money, and you get a little extra for the next set of tires, that isn't going to like destroy friendships. But I wouldn't want to have like I wouldn't want to have the regular Sunday race be for $1,000 every weekend. I think that would suck the fun out of it.
I think that,
and even if like, you know what, I don't care because I'm never going to win that grand. I'm not that fast. I'd be like, why am I like giving this guy a chunk of his $1,000 every weekend? That would annoy me.
So the reason we're talking about this, just to catch everybody up that's not in our heads or in the group here, in the past 2 weeks ago, it was called King of the Streets.
King of the Streets.
In Las Vegas, which a bunch of drag racers got together, a total of like 200 and something entries. And the single winner was paid out, right?
Yep. The top guy won all of the prize money. Second place got bupkis. And so did everybody else.
Yeah, so he got paid like $18,600.
Yeah, I think the official number that they said was $18,540, and then on top of that, Genzace gave him $1,000 contingency for using their battery and winning. But they wrote him a check; he didn't get cash for that.
And so this is why we're discussing: should we be paying? So, drag racing is a little unique, is that realistically you can't hack someone off the drag track because you're both fucked at that point. So it tends to be probably a little bit more safe. But I watched the coverage from our buddy Matt at Mod RC and watched some of the people try to drive straight. So there was definitely some cross lane action and some drive into the boards action, more than I would have guessed, to be quite honest with you, at a $18,000 payout. I figured someone would be practicing going straight, but that wasn't the case. If you'd want to watch it, you can go to Mod Media Live or something. Sorry, Matt, I don't remember what it is. Actually, take that back because I actually prepped. Totally forgot about this.
I will say this. While you're getting that ready, there's no driving of these cars. They just pull the trigger and kind of see what happens. Like if you have to steer it or do anything, you lost. So which one are you going to show us? The final?
Yes. So this was the final. I may have to fast forward this just to get through some of the staging, but I think I got it to the right point. So these are the final 2 guys, and F- for paint job.
Yeah. The dude who was from Colorado, he had a proper paint job. The other guy, who was a father and daughter team, both of their cars were pink. So I'm guessing he asked his daughter what color they would be, and she said pink. So like a good dad, he made both of his hot rods pink.
I had to play the volume here so we didn't go into an infinite loop of echo.
Right.
So this is the entire event. It's directed around a fold-up chair and some tape.
They had proper beams. The light system is a quarter scale drag racing system. They're $6,000, but that is owned by a club out of Arizona. They run their stuff on a regular basis. So I'm not sure if King of the Streets paid those Arizona guys to come out, or if they just did it out of the goodness of their hearts or not. But I imagine people's costs got covered. This isn't the final.
That is.
No, it isn't. This is the semifinal.
Like I said, I'm not saying anything.
You got to go way further forward in the line. Are you just going to show one race, not the actual final?
Well, I can show the final. I thought I prepped the right one, but
I'm such a nerd that I was
pretty sure that's the final because in this.
The other dude's car was a paint job, and it was the dude from Colorado, Jacob Leader. Clay Keats won, and Jacob Leader got second place.
Do they do this like
okay?
Full
We'll
scale
still get the point.
Fixed amount of time to get staged.
Sort of, but not really. They let them redo it as much as they need to sometimes, and it seems very awkward. Those were actually pretty clean runs in comparison to some of the terribleness that went on that day.
Yeah, I thumbed through some of the stuff, and like I said, I was somewhat surprised of the non-straightness of the. It says final in the video, and there's no other race after this. It just shows them packing up. But I mean,
Really?
I'll double check.
Because there was sort of weird rerun thing that had to happen at one time. Man.
Talkie. Oh, wait, maybe this
There
is
it is. There it is. There it is. Now you got it. That's the final. This is the $18,000 race. So they did this slow build up where they had them both come out, made sure that they both were ready to do their burnouts so that one guy didn't get cold tires. You're not allowed to do a burnout on the starting line or on the other side of the rug. Otherwise, you get disqualified. I watched him disqualify this little kid for bumping his trigger as he set his car down. It was heartbreaking.
I saw one guy doing a burnout on the wrong side, and he got kicked off too. Hey, yeah. I'm a strict enforcer of rules, so once I'll start talking about rules. Jeff's not here to counter my no rules or good rules.
But you have to have a little bit of rules. Some are sometimes a lot, sometimes a little. Depends on the situation. These guys have a lot of rules.
Ooh, right lane.
And there you have it. Hey, look, there's Scotty.
Right lane. So P6 for the win.
So that was for 18 grand. I feel like I can win that.
That was the 9th time that dude drove his car down the track all day for 12 hours. 9 times. Not bad.
2 seconds, right? So 20 seconds. 20 seconds for 20 grand about. Not bad. I do feel like I can win that, to be quite honest with you.
You and everybody right now. I've been having some very interesting messages and calls from my RC friends over the last few days.
There goes the end to the purity of the RC drag racing, by the way, and maybe why you probably don't want to race for money. Because it will start to bring in sponsors and ruin racing, like everything. But the difference here is that, again, you can't hack each other. So in terms of, like, let's say we had an off-road buggy where you can take someone out. And the whole thing about, Jeff will cry about this stuff is that you can't enforce anything. And the thing is, you can enforce it. We just choose not to.
We've been enforcing no takeout rules for a long time in racing. I've been a race director for a while, and you can make people not take each other out. And when they do, you can penalize them. The problem is when it's for money, you're putting all of that stress on the race director. And much why, like in IFMAR World Championships, they have referees, 2 or 3 of them, so that it's not anybody's fault who gets mad. Because, like, I'm a little guy. If you call a guy out for takeout moves, they're $20,000 race. They'll wait for you out in the parking lot if they have to, I feel like. But
true. But again, in order to do this, you probably just have to set rules and enforce them. Unfortunately, like we watched them DQ a guy for doing a burnout on the front side of the rug, or a little kid that can't not go forward for a second. Unfortunately, you gotta do the rule and you gotta enforce it, and then you gotta be stickler. If you 3 infractions for something and you're banned for life, that's pretty easy. Mm-hmm. Without the rules, people are gonna try to cheat. So in the terms of real racing, I don't want to call it real, but like on a track where there's an hour main and you take someone out, you gotta have a rule for that. You know what I mean? Right. We don't have the I'm gonna get hurt or die fear. Although if you watch Formula One, you can watch Verstappen when he was younger dive in like an RC car and blow everybody out of the track. So, I mean, and they couldn't die. But, be an aggressive driver, and they got penalized, and they get penalized, and they lose points, and they can't do this. So, my cure for everything, and I'm not a rule guy. I am an open mod, kind of takes away cheating. But you have to have rules for sportsmanship because people are assholes.
Yeah.
Do you think the $20,000 made that event any more fun? Did it bring any more positive attention to the hobby/sport? Did it result in better racing? Was there any upshot to it besides for the guy who took home the money?
Yeah, I think a lot of manufacturers took this as an opportunity to kind of get themselves out there and get to know a new segment of the hobby, which I thought was good for the sport, because the more the manufacturers get involved with their end users, the better everything gets for all of us that are doing this. So, like, the shiny inner nerd industry guy of me was like, that's great. But in the end, the competition was actually pretty good. They posted the results of the ETs and the miles an hour and stuff was pretty close. To see the folks working together, once they got knocked out, they hung out. They were still having a fun time helping their buddies. There was this. it was even when they were out, they were still having a good time as far as the people went. So I think a lot of these guys came in not really trying to win, just to see where they stood against guys that were taking this very seriously.
Yeah.
They wanted to see how fast the guys from the West Coast were.
Is there an NHRA for this stuff? Is there a national title for it?
Not really.
Does this serve as the national title?
Sort of. There's a Facebook group, No Prep RC Drag Racing, and they have a set of rules that if you want to be a No Prep RC Drag Club, you're going to abide by these rules. And a lot of that comes in line with the body sizes, the wheelbases, the wheelie bars, and the wings, and all that fun stuff. So good rules. I like them personally.
My confusion about the word no prep is what does that mean?
It's lots of prep.
Yeah, it's like calling a bald guy curly. There is so much prep in no prep that it's referring to the track. They mean that they don't spray the track.
No
right.
But you're allowed to use traction compound.
Now you are. That didn't used to be the case.
I know, but that's what I'm saying. So they're walking away from the no prep. Once you get to run one run, that was hard to say. Tires, it's going to be another game-changing thing where nobody's going to really want to spend $60 a run. But I could see that coming.
I totally thought that drag racing was going to be a flash in the pan when I first saw what was going on. The burnouts alone, I was doing huge burnouts because the tires get hot. And then they got onto tire warmers, and then tire saucing became a thing. So the drag car actually becomes pretty sustainable compared to a day of racing your four-wheel drive buggy. So, I mean, you can get through a week or two and, test tires and all that.
Well, yeah, let's be real. They ran 9 times, which is a cumulative time of 18 seconds of runtime.
That's still, hold on. But that's still a whole day at the track with your buddies. So.
Yeah, well, hey, I'm okay hanging out, drinking beer, doing whatever. But it's not like they're doing like an hour main to have tires in it. It's like 18. They made it through 18 seconds of running. Yeah. It's crazy.
Right. But at least they did it all on one set of tires.
The hurdle for me is the hurdle for me is I don't want to build the fastest car. I'm not really interested in that. If there was a bracket class, I would run bracket every time because you don't have to worry about building the fastest car. Or alternatively, if there was a spec class, everyone runs a DR10 ready to run, and you can only change X, Y, and Z. Everyone has the same motor and battery. I'd be into that, which would be about building the fastest car, but not at the expense of tons of money and a crazy 2-turn, all that stuff.
Those
so
all
either
exist.
as a spec class or with brackets. I'm into it. What's that?
That all exists.
Those exist.
Yeah,
great. That's what I would be into.
There's a 13.5.
But if my local club we don't have that, it's just who has the fastest car, I'd be out.
What they're starting to have now, some of these drag clubs are doing multiple classes. So they have their street eliminator class, which is what we watch this cast race be all about, kind of open rules. And then there's a 13.5 no bar class, and there's a bunch of these RTR classes as well that are real basic rigs. They even have a stock / Titan motor class where they race 12-turn motors. It's like
that.
Yeah, like paint drying going down.
I do that.
Drag strip, but it's fun. Like it's still a good time.
So
and like that class, like as long as it's exciting for the drivers, that's all that matters to me because you're not pulling in spectator. I mean, yeah, someone might wander over, but I don't care if the other guys think it's boring to watch. If I'm like, yeah, that was exciting because like by keeping my car as straight as possible, that got me the 3 inches I needed to beat you at the line. Great, that's fun and interesting to me, even though the cars only did 25.
What I like the most about drag racing over all of the things so far that I've seen is the little kids beating the old men. The kids that are sure their dad works on their car just like they do on the the other side of things, but these kids, they're laying it down to these adults, which I think is great to see a little bit. And that these spec classes are geared much towards that because the kids can get into something that's not scary to be out there getting yelled at by the old guys and things of that nature when they crash or fly off the track, whatever. So I think there's going to be a lot more of these slow drag races, just like all forms of RC. We got to slow it down so it's more awesome.
I don't know if you've ever gone to a real NHRA event, but one of the classes for like the older fast cars, like, where someone has a 900 horsepower drag car, roll cage, is breakout times where they start off as like, you got to shoot for a 14-second quarter mile. Like they stage the times that can't go over. So you kind of have to, it was weird the first time I didn't know what was going on because they'd go down like the track halfway at like 50 miles an hour and then punch it because you have to get closest to the time that's up there. I don't really know because the scale quarter mile really isn't that long. It's it doesn't seem like that's possible, but that's another form of bracket racing that when I watched it was interesting because it was
Oval
strange.
racing. Oval racing did that for a while, where if you did too fast of a lap time, your lap didn't count. You guys, that was around for a minute.
Oh, I thought it was just because the lap counter couldn't do it, but
no, there was a specific class that they had that you were supposed to run the same lap all race long to do it right, and if you went faster than that, that lap didn't count. Breakout racing, I think, is what it's called.
Yeah, I know the scale. I know it's a scale 132, but I don't really think it's enough to say, okay, we're going to do a 4 second, 8 second. Like, I get the fun part. And by the way, I watched this event and I didn't see any spectators other than the people that were there. So money doesn't bring spectators.
There weren't allowed any spectators due to
coronavirus. Smart.
You couldn't have anyone on the property that was not part of a team because you can't have spectators in America right now for anything. But there was.
It's not 100% true, but
I know. I'm just saying. I live in California, so it's real. I'm real sensitive to this crap. But no, there were spectators, so people came and they watched.
How frequently does a no prep club have a means of actually giving you an ET as opposed to just whoever crosses the line first wins? Because you definitely can't do that breakout stuff if you're not able to collect ET.
Right. Some clubs have timing systems. Some are proficient at using that Traxxas system. Other clubs have a dude at the end of the straightaway with a cell phone running slow motion footage to determine who wins, and you get no times. So I think that very few of them actually have proper times. And if they do, it's not a no prep club. That's a drag strip, and they have traction that gets laid down from their normal drag racing that happens. So those times are inherently faster always.
Yeah. But on the upshot, if you have an ability to generate an elapsed time, now you can do bracket racing and everyone can race and have fun and not worry about having the fastest car. And theoretically, guys could show up with their B7s and put, well, they've already got slicks on them because they race carpet, and they could drag race those. Who cares?
Put a chuck body
on.
Yeah, no, exactly. I think
that just whatever.
Well, people like them to look cool. You got to spend a little money to go drag racing. Come on.
Well, yeah,
I would really just show up with a straight up race car. I would love to go drag racing. I'm going to run bracket, and I'm going to run my TRX4, and the guy in the next lane has a B6. That'd be awesome. That'd be great. I get like a full-on, like 3/4 of the track head start.
It would be like real bracket racing in that regard. People just run what you brung.
That's right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Which was fun because I used to go to California Speedway on the Thursday night street drags, and you'd see people in their work truck going down there racing whatever. So it's not an unfun thing to do. And look, in the purest forms, when I started racing or playing with RC cars, all you did was drag race each other. Like drag racing isn't cool.
Yeah.
I worked in a hobby shop, and I probably told the story, but some guys from the inner city were drag racing, and they'd come in and tell me there was, gambling hundreds of dollars on every run, and they had no idea how to work on their cars. I was taking hair weave out of the axles, and it was fun, and they were cool, and they paid in 5s and 1s, but drug money pays for stuff, and we took it. But they were drag racing, and that was, 1996, but drag racing's been around forever. It's not new. It's just not a limelight. It never really got the limelight in RC. But and it's what it was. You drag race whatever you had. That's the fun of it. Show up, and that's the real king of the streets. Whatever you got, come and run it. Think you can get a nitro A-scale car to be an electric car off the line? That should be sitting there and pinging off the line to try to do it.
I've for as long as I've done tech support in the hobby industry, I have talked to folks that drag race each other, and they try to bribe you as a tech support guy to give them the secrets so that their car could be faster than the guy next to him, type of deal. And that since my Novak days, I've been talking to guys who are out street racing. So it's been a thing for a very long time.
Yeah, and I'd like to see some dirt drag racing too. I think that would be kind of a little bit more fun, and no prep on the dirt. So the more runs, the worse it gets. So this way, if you got your chassis dialed in for smooth and it gets bumpy, you're out.
All conditions drag racing. I like it.
Yeah. Screw this prep stuff.
RC cars for as long as many years have been catered to the racer. Make the track perfect, give him as much traction as possible, make it very, very video game like, so that I dislike that. I'm an old man. I'm sour against all that stuff. So I'm a big fan of this street racing nonsense. We've been racing in backyards that are ill prepared at best for years now, and it's been the best time I've had in RC in a long time.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I think we got too much. Like we get in the discussion of stupid carpet off road of the unlimited traction. I get it, but I don't get it.
It's a different kind of fun. I've driven. IIC has the IIOCC, whatever, the off road segment of it, and on the Saturday after the mains or the Sunday after the mains, I got to drive the kid who won stock, Ray Derrick. I got to drive his car for a few laps afterwards. That's amazingly good time. Like when the car is on rails like that, it's like a real live video game. But at the same regard, might as well go play video games. It's so good. There wasn't any talent to it. You just drove the car around the track. It did exactly what you told it to do. It was neat.
Well, and on top of that, if you run the main 3 times, like why?
Yeah.
I know we went on this. We've gone around a few times with Jeff, and Jeff will disagree vehemently, but like, I don't think there should be so much emphasis on making sure the right guy wins. If bad luck happens and the guy who was second all night manages to swoop in and take the lead because the guy's wheel came off, should have tightened that nut. I think that's part of racing.
If we're going to go that route, we should have less qualifying and all mains because there's far too much qualifying in RC cars compared to normal sports in general.
Yeah. One of my exes said at one point about how many days of practice. Why is there so much practice? Aren't they professionals? And that was a real quote. Like, and if you look at other things, we're not Formula One, but if you look at Formula One, they limited the days of practice. They limited the days of qualifying. Because, how many times have I gone to a race where you spend, I'll go pick on snowbirds. It was 4 days of qualifying. And on main day, as soon as people took their car off the track, they were packed and ran away to their flight. You know what I mean? Like all that for 5 minutes, and then nobody wanted to be there anymore. Which, for me is like I would just charge more per person to have more of a fun time than pack 10,000 people in and make it too stressful. But
the great debate of head counts over entry fees.
Yeah, everybody likes to think that it should be free, but I look at it as it should be an event. And not you
pay for an experience. That's exactly it. I would pay more to have less people there. So I've been a fan of that. As a race director, I'm always a fan of that. Less heat is a good thing.
And then back in the day when Skinny was racing the Worlds who couldn't get around the track, like I had a laugh that at a Worlds event that a rando can show up, and be the jam car of the Worlds with no experience and no credibility. And not picking on Skinny. That was just like he thought it was great. But I was like, it's just kind of terrible to go to a Worlds and watch people that shouldn't be there race, to be honest with you. I'd much rather watch it in a condensed format where normal spectator can be there for a few hours, know what's going on, and get the hell out of there. If that's what we're trying to do is put a showcase on, not just how we're going to pay for the corner marshals.
I think that's the bigger problem is
in other racing, you sign up for a pro license. Like a pro is not just whoever signs up. A pro is a professional. Yep. You do the paperwork.
You qualify. You have to pass a
there's
test.
Classes for the amateurs, but
you used to have to qualify for the Worlds. That's why Roar existed forever. Was the only IFMAR qualifier races in the U.S. So that was one of the things is that you had to race in something to be able to actually race in the Worlds. But then I think. Yeah. They came, okay, well, the U.S. gets 60 spots and they're not full. So I think they kind of backed down. But I don't even know what it costs to race the Worlds. I would imagine for me, if it was a Worlds event, that the entry cost should be like $1,000. I'm just throwing that as a loose amount.
Yeah, well, if you're a professional, you should be able to cover that. And I would say the IFMAR could have we have an amateur world championship, and that runs until Friday. Saturday and Sunday is the pro world championship. And that's for the guys who pay the $1,000 entry fee who are registered professional drivers, just like in other motorsports.
There's a World Cup format where they sort of do that. Everybody races, and they only take the top echelon to go into the main event. There was a couple Euro races where they did it that way. I thought that was a really good way to thin it out. Give the pro guys kind of an off day while they ran the whatever they called it, finals, and then these guys got to come back and put on the show, so to speak. But it didn't stick for whatever reason.
Well, Reedy Race
and I'm all for
was kind of like that.
And I'm all for the romance of the idea that the local boy can make good and beat the fastest guys. come to his home track. But I'm not sure how often that actually happens anymore.
It happens once every Nevuary.
Yeah, but I mean, it's where we are. I don't like as many people. I guess the older we get, the less time we want to spend, and it's to me, I have the money, not the time. So maybe that's just being old and saying, yeah, I don't want to race with 500 people and be there for 22 hours and be miserable. But I mean, even when I was super into racing, being out in the dirt in February and it's 40 degrees at night and you can't feel your hands. While it's a very good memory, man, it could have been so much more enjoyable with less people there. You know what I mean? Instead of $20 to race or whatever, can you triple it and let us have some time off? IIC did that for a while, I think, right? Didn't they make it to where?
Yes, there's a couple of events that went along the lines of limiting entries, but they didn't increase the entry fee enough, so they weren't making enough money, and they went back to unlimited entries shortly thereafter. Because I think that once you started increasing the entry fees, the racers were really expecting a lot more out of the event. Bigger awards.
Well, I agree that an event
packages.
can't.
Right.
Yes, the event can't just be. I'm going to pick on the king of the streets. It just can't be some tables and some wood down the strip. It has to look professional. And I will say, in general terms, I've been to some worlds that did put on a professional event, and it looked professional. So I mean, it is possible to still make money and present it right. And really presenting it right is really just having a clean space and a place for people and food. The weird thing that alcohol was never allowed at these events. Like, the first time I went to a race in Europe and they had a bar there, I thought I had died and went to heaven. Like, holy shit, you could have a beer while I'm sitting here bored out of my mind.
That was the best.
Yeah. So the fake thing that this is for children and we're all angry adults, throwing our controllers off the driver's stand, swearing, beating each other up.
That's still happening.
For kids. Tricks are for kids.
The days of the kid buying his own RC cars and going to the track racing is long gone, I believe. Like all the kids that I see, they got a dad who's a contractor or something that they make good money. And this is what they're doing while their dirt bike's getting fixed or whatever the case may be.
RC is not a poor man's hobby. So, I mean, I think Pete has touched this, and I go over this before.
There's no poor man's hobbies. It doesn't matter what you get into.
Yeah, you can't donate RC cars to some kid because it just costs money to run them, and it's just not another good debate is that someone I work with was upset that the music program at school couldn't afford grand pianos and this stuff. And I was like, well, how about you give them kids instruments that people could afford? Like we played the freaking recorder for a reason. Like our school didn't give out violins to learn how to play. You played a $3 recorder you got to buy at the store. So let's stop giving kids the notion that, I'd like to say, we can give everybody the most expensive instrument, but it's not the way it works. And RC is the same way. You can't slap somebody that can't afford to maintain something and they're going to have fun with it. It's going to break.
You might give him a rock crawler. And that
could be a lot more affordable, though. I mean,
if they weren't racing. Like if you're not competing, just having a good time with your RC car on your own, maybe. But it's way more fun with friends. Yeah.
RC propaganda says the demos from 20 to 40. I mean, I don't think I don't know. I'm too old. I don't see kids anymore. And I started racing when I was super young by myself, and my friend finally turned 16, and we drove to the track, and that's when I started racing. And there wasn't a lot of kids back then either, because I raced all adults, and where I didn't have money to be fast, especially like when oval was popular when I raced, and you had to buy tires and.
I was the only kid at the track for a long time.
Yeah.
It showed.
And don't forget, tracks aren't pretty much every kid who lives in the suburbs can ride his bike to a baseball diamond, probably. Not true for an RC car track. You need someone with a car that you can get into to get to the track, not an RC car. And so there's all those limiting factors that make it hard for this to really be it can be a kid's hobby as far as driving a car and playing with a car and that kind of stuff. But for racing every Sunday, that's very difficult for 12 to 15-year-old to really enjoy the hobby unless they have those other components, someone who can drive them and the income to do it.
We have a very unique situation. Like a mile from my house, the city granted some dudes access to build an RC car track in the park. So we actually have a public park that you can go to from dawn till dusk and race RC cars. They made it. It's a pretty decent sized track. You can run A-scale out there, no problem. So,
Right. So I
and
started.
that's been huge to get kids going with their parents. They go out there and bashing each other. Our local hobby shop sees guys coming in and says, "Hey, we were out the park track breaking our stuff. We need some parts." So it's been, I mean, it does wonders. It's like having a skate park. You get skaters. So we got an RC car park. We got RC cars now. So I think that's really cool.
And that's where I started racing, was actually at a public park. And skateboarding, when it was illegal, figured out that there's laws in place that there's a certain amount of people that do something, the city has to provide space for them.
Right.
And Thunder Alley was actually a park built on that. But skate parks, that's how they popped up everywhere, is that, hey, we have thousands of kids skateboarding. You'll have tennis courts that nobody uses, but you don't want to provide space for the stuff people do for now. And you can get your city to look into that, but you have to prove a certain amount of people to provide the space, and they will donate stuff to it. So, I mean, it is very possible. You just have someone that has some free time and probably a connection or 7 in your local government. The joke was always get your Cub Scouts involved, because people never say no to Cub Scouts. So make it some troop event or something like that, or have it to something like that. But there's ways, definitely, if you're into trying to get something together. Around me, I mean, down here, there's tracks in the middle of the woods, and what's big now is all these backyard tracks. I mean, I really think where I am now, there's probably 6 full-on people built tracks, and now have people paying to practice at them by me.
Well, that's great. There's something to be said. You go to the track with your pride and joy, your RC car, you go throw it down, and you go out and kind of putting it all out on stage and showing everybody how good or bad you are at this. And it can be very off-putting for some people. A lot of us get into RC because we don't want to hang out with people. We want to sit and do our RC, and then take our skill set and show it off. That can be very off-putting for a lot of people, is what I've found. I don't know. Maybe it's just me.
Yeah.
Like, they go to the track,
to
they stink up the place,
track,
and they don't come back. Sorry.
I remember going to a backyard track, and of course, it's all guys who know each other and are buddies who, it's not, they're not making not talking about it and saying, hey, if you want to come down and try the track, come try it out. It was just, I happen to know someone who knew a guy, and, they knew I was an RC car person, said, well, come down and check it out while I was in Rhode Island for a summer vacation. But, those dudes were certainly having a blast, and their cars could have gone faster, but it wasn't about I want to destroy everybody on the track. It's like, no, we're all running 19 turns because that way it's close and we get plenty of run time out of our batteries. This is pre-lipos, so it's a whole different spirit. It was about the racing should be fun because we want to stay out here all day and have a better chance that Bill's going to win one and I'm going to win one. It's not just a decimation match. Because I could put a 10 turn in, and we could, not worry about trying to make our tires last because we don't care about money and we just want to destroy each other. But that's not, going to be a fun thing to do. So those guys are having a great time. And at Extreme, the opposite. I remember going there on a Thursday to run a car and wow, this place is packed with guys. And I'm like, you should come Sunday and race. And they're like, yeah, we all tried that once and never again. We didn't get to drive our cars, and we're getting yelled at, and we had to pay. So yeah, we'll just come and do this and have a blast. So racing needs more of that. Club racing needs more of that having a blast and less of the super serious stuff.
The first time I went to a backyard track and ran pack after pack on a track against buddies, I'm like, I'm never going back to the track again. Why would you? I just drove my car more than I've driven it for a week at the track straight, type of thing. So.
Yeah, well, there's a competition part of going to an event if you're good at something. I mean, as I get older and become less good, I'm not interested in trying to show off that I'm not good anymore.
I was about to say the same thing. I already knew that I was past my prime of being an RC wheel, so I'm happy to beat my buddies in the backyard because my old man skills really come into play against those guys.
Yeah. But I would love if my local indoor track said, okay, on the format is we just race all day. We have these 4 classes and we just run them in a loop all day long. There's no qualifying, there's no mains. It's just every race is its own race. So if you want to come down for a couple of hours and get 4 races in and then go home, great. You want to stay all day and get 20 in, great. But just it's going to go 2-wheel drive buggy, 4-wheel drive buggy, stadium truck, and then 8-scale buggy. That's the loop. So if you're racing one class, every third outing is going to be your turn. If you're not ready, that's fine. Don't go because there's no qualifying, there's no mains. You can say I ran 10 times today, and I won 8 times, and I got 2/3 and a 5th, and like that was my day. Or you know what? I only had an hour to play. I got in 2 races, but I was still able to mow my lawn and get to my kid's birthday party, so it was awesome. Like I would love that. That's something I could get into. I don't have time, and I don't want to work on my car. I don't have time to practice and be good. You know, I just want to go get some track time and have some fun and not make a whole day out of it.
We do 3-lap battles, so every 3 laps race is over and we start again.
If
so
I
you get
had
multiple
the whole day,
races
I wouldn't want to
per
spend
battery.
the whole day that I have to myself to spend 8 hours inside a steel building.
Yeah, I like the I mean, the whole thing of racing is battling, not lapping the shit out of somebody. So Pete's in max headroom mode.
It's all right. It happens. The internet's a wonderful place sometimes. But the 3-lap battle is a key because in one battery pack, we'll have like 10 or 15 3-lap battles, and then you can keep track of the wins all day long. So you don't count your wins, you just collect them. It's good times.
So our final thoughts on the paying out racing. I convinced myself again today that it doesn't really help anything. Even though that somebody bet me that I can't win or I'm going to win the next King of the Streets, I might randomly click that. It's too late because now the rabbit's out of the hat here. There'll be professionals there that can drive straight easily, and they'll be faster than me because
I hope that all the people who are sitting in their armchairs right now saying, man, I could drive my car in a straight line better than those guys do, put together a rig, and we have a $40,000 race next year, and there's 400 people come up to prove a point. I tried real hard to make my car go in a straight line for a long time. I gave up. It was so hard, and I went just to being the motor tuner guy. So come and get some, folks. Get your drag race on.
I say let him run gyros.
Oh, might as well, right?
I'm sure that somebody's figured that one out. But
here's the thing: if you have a gyro in the car and the car brakes, traction gets loose, you're still going to lose time, but you're just not going to go into the wall. You know, it'll look a little bit more like racing. And if everyone has them, then no one has an advantage.
Exactly. I almost agree with you, like 95% on that one.
I'm cool with watching them not be able to drive for a little bit, but
the best. No. Yeah, the best.
I think once some better people that
this is the.
You just go like this a little bit. I think once the people that can do this a little better, the cars will go straight every time.
You don't need to steer. When the car's right, all you do is this. That's it.
Right.
And you go like this at the end. There's no inputs. The gyro won't matter when the car's right. Guarantee you.
It's not that they can't steer. It's loss of traction.
Right.
Right. Okay. So better at this.
Yeah.
No, they go like this, and then the speed control and the radio and all that does the rest. You can't tell a guy to ease into it. It just doesn't.
Well,
happen.
I would take away any. I almost think it should just be an on-off switch, one step, if that's the case. But because then it's who can set up a speed control, and then it becomes a traction control issue. Which I'll go back to Formula One banned all that too. They had banned traction control, but then they figured out throttle profiles to mimic traction control, which they also banned. So racing for money.
Drag racing used to run foam tires that were as soft as a kitchen sponge, and you'd pour these things, you'd cover these things with like honey, like glue. It would actually like web between the tire. It would create a web between the tire and the track when it rolled off it. And your speed control was a servo that would just close the micro switch. It was an on-off switch, and you would set up your servo because you knew that your servo, as soon as you pin the trigger, it would always take so many hundredths to get to that switch. And that's how you would get as close as you could to the
perfect reaction time.
Launch microsecond without redlining. All that stuff is how drag racing worked for quite a long time. Ask Mike Ogle, he'll tell you.
They're gonna get to that again. The sauces that they're putting on these tires now, the tire warming that they're doing beforehand, the tires are leaving that web of nasty behind them after they do their burnouts. Mm-hmm. I saw it all week.
This is my joke of it's not no prep. If people were spewing sauce all over the place, skeeting their freaking tire warmer, the tire sauce everywhere. So it's actually prepped after like a couple runs.
Yeah, well, you could see from the morning till the afternoon how much less dust was flying off the track as the cars drove down. So the track definitely got better as the day went on.
So you might as well prep it if that's really the case, because it just means the people in the beginning aren't. It's the first runs are worthless.
That's the street aspect of it.
From the streets.
Yeah.
I race from the streets. I don't even paint my body. It's one color.
So,
I don't know. We make a magazine. We have some drag racing shit in it every once in a while. So if you're new to the show, it's ending. Welcome to the end. But you can click the link in the descriptions. You can subscribe. There's a free issue. You can subscribe to YouTube. Click the stupid bell or whatever you have to do to
smash those notifications.
Yeah, smash that shit. And then Facebook, I have no idea. You should just go to like it, whatever. There's videos there too. But the magazine, we make it. It's coming out soon, hopefully. And then and that's it. And we're done for this week. Because
there's a Charlie article. Tell them about there's a Charlie article.
Charlie's going to have a column. It's going to be following the life. I don't know if you follow Charlie. It's a very random lifestyle that now is going to be in the magazine. It may or may not have to do with RC sometimes. Who knows? But this is coming out in the next issue. I just got to get that all gathered and laid out, and then that'll be in the next one coming up. So if you like Charlie and like his articles, subscribe so maybe I can pay him, because in the end we all got to get paid for some shit.
I get paid with popularity around here.
Made you 20 cents on this video eventually.
Rich.
So like everything we do, and don't like it, I don't care either. But sure, just try it. Just do it. It doesn't bother you. Can't you just like it and not watch it? Or watch it like
just put it on the background.
Click it, let it run through the channel. It's all fake. I'm okay with it.
Pretend you're a bot.
Yeah. Good old days you can put bots on. So we're out, but we will be back next week. I have no idea what the topic is. That's why it's called Babble. If you haven't figured that out yet, we don't have a game plan. I don't know why you watched it this far. 46 minutes and 50 seconds of your life will never get back. So you should watch it again and double that. I forgot to drink my water. Hydrate.